Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name's DJ. Welcome back to the second session of today, Thursday, which is Low Code, No Code Day, week 3 of Devtoberfest. We've just finished an awesome kickoff session this morning with Archana, and we're super lucky to have Archana back to run a follow-up session, looking at actions, basically in the area of SAP Process Automation and extensions and so on. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to go on mute and let Archana take over.
Thanks, DJ, and welcome back again. So this second part of the session is about connecting SAP Process Automation's process with external systems. So, any kind of extension use cases or automations is not complete without you do the final posting, which could be, in some HANA system, or it could be in the backend S4HANA system, or you would want to do an update into a SuccessFactors and Ariba system. And how is all that done? Is via APIs. So API is a gateway of connecting processes with the external systems, and that is what I'm going to talk about today. But before we go into the tools, let us understand some concept which might be new for you when I'm talking about actions in SAP Process Automation. So action is not a new concept. It is just like a more business-friendly name to APIs. Okay, so what you have to do here is, now there are 3 parts to it. One is creating an action project. So at the lobby, which is in Application Development Studio of SAP Process Automation, you create an action project. And an action project, inside action project, you can have different methods of an API calls. Okay, so different methods means like a put or a patch or post calls or get calls. So if you go into any API specifications, you will see that APIs is actually very huge. So there could be a lot of APIs, and then inside it, for a particular API, there could be a lot of methods. But you might not want to use all the methods when you are giving it for your citizen developers or business users to work or connect with these external systems. So that is where the action projects comes into the play, where it provides you a nice new user interface to manage your APIs, where you can give a business-friendly name, where you can trim the input based on your requirements, where you can decide the output, and you can also test it based on the destination configuration or even the manual input. Now, once you have created the action project, you have to publish those actions project. And only when you publish it, will it be available to be consumed inside the process. So action library is one such store where all the different APIs methods that you publish via action projects are available to be consumed in the same tenant by other projects or processes. Now, action skill is a new artifact inside the process builder where you can connect to an external system. So these 3 are the mandatory, steps or artifacts that you have to work with when you are working with actions, or when, or in the simple terms, when you want to connect an SAP Process Automation based process to an external system. Now, let me again go back into the tool. Okay, so just in the previous session, you saw me designing this process, where the process was starting with the form. It had a decisions to fill in the search term, which is one of the mandatory fields. Then you saw an approval form, and then once the approval is done, a notification is sent via email. And if there is a rejection, then a form is being sent to the inbox with an explicit acknowledgement. Good. Now, next is adding actions to it, because now once the business partner approval is completed, now you would want to basically post or create this business partner as a master data in your backend S4HANA system. Okay, so what I have done is, I have already have an S/4HANA cloud system where, all the needed communication arrangements, communication system, and communication users are already created. Now, I have already created a destination in my BTP cockpit. So if I would want to quickly show you that destination. Okay, so I am into my BTP cockpit and I'm into the destination section. And if you see here, this is the destination that I have already created. And this destination will actually go ahead and create the business partner. So why am I able to do it? Because there are already APIs exposed from S/4HANA. So any kind of, connectivity that you would want to do from process automation to an external system have to be via APIs. Okay, so either an API should already be available. It could be a OData API or REST API. Either an API should already be available, or an API, you can create an API already in the backend system. If it is not either a REST API or an OData API, then you cannot use an action project, but then you can use, RPA bot, which you will see in the later section, that how you can also call, web services and BAPI based connections that you can make to your backend, especially with the ECC systems where OData are not readily available. Good. So, but for this presentation, I have chosen an S/4HANA Cloud. I have done all the needed setup in the backend system, and this is the user that I have created with, which has all the needed permissions. Now, so this is so next I come to BTP cockpit and create a destination here with the same user. So this is one of the mandatory steps before you want to call in actions or an API inside the process. Now I go back to my process builder. And if I want to call an API, so I want to call an API only when I want to call an API only when my approver step has been successful, right? So I'll go here. Okay, so first thing that I have to do is also creating action project. Sorry. So first thing is that you have to create an action project. Now to create an action project, you go here, create an action project. Okay, now action project needs an open API specification. This is one of the mandatory steps. So your API should already have an open API spec. Let's say if your API do not have them, or if they are custom APIs, or let's say you want to call an integration flow, then you can very easily generate an open API spec, but spec is needed for an action project to be created. Now, I'll also show you how you can get that spec from the already published API in the API Business Hub. So if you go to api.sap.com, which is nothing but API Business Hub, and let's say here I want to search for an API. Okay, so if you see here, these are different business partner APIs that are available, and then you can use any of these APIs. So the one that I have used, I have to search where it is. Yeah. So this is an API that I'm using. This is an S/4HANA based API, and this API actually will create, read, update, and all different things that could be done using the business partner. So this API is already exposed, and in the API specification, you will see different specifications. So the one that is needed for creating action project is the JSON specification. So you can download this specification and upload. Going forward, we will make this integration more seamless as well, so that you can already discover the open API specification from API Hub, and really do not have to come to API Hub to download and then upload. So for now, what I've done is I have downloaded that Open API spec there already. And let's say I will just say business partner. Okay, so then it is the API to create business partner. And I'll just browse. So I will already have it created in my system. Okay, so I just select this API. So this is actually the API that I downloaded it, and I did not do any change. I mean, if you want, you can also make changes. It's a pure JSON format, but I've not done that. So let me create this. So now action project is getting created, and it will take you to an action editor. Okay, and in this action editor, you can actually choose which API you want to add to this action project. So if I go back to API specification, so if you see this business partner API has these many APIs, right? So these are the different APIs, and even if you select one of the API, there will be a lot of different methods, right? So I mean, and you can choose everything, but then the guidance is always to keep it minimalistic as to whatever is needed. You just add that. You can definitely go ahead and keep updating the action project based on the need. So now the action editor, so the action project is created and it has taken you to the action editor. So the first thing that you will notice is it has taken up all the methods from the specification as I was showing you. So so for now, for this, I just would want to use a post, just just for the sake of the demo. But going for, I mean, if you have more needs, you can add more methods as well. So I'll just do a filter here. I'll say post. Show me only the post calls, and then in the post, I only want to use the business partner creation, and that too at the header level. Okay, so now my business partner is being created. And if you see here, everything, all that is part of the input of the post is being added. But this body is like too huge. I really don't want this much, because I can create business partner with the minimal information that I pass through forms, minimal and mandatory. So what I'll do is I'll just sort ascending. I'll select everything. And then I will now keep only what is needed for me, right? So first I will do a business partner category. I will keep this, then I will keep first name, I will keep initials, I'll keep last name, I will just keep an organization name and one search term. Done. I don't need anything else. I'll just remove everything. Okay, so you see, I have trimmed my whole post calls into a very minimalistic set of the input payload. Same I can do with an output as well. So I really don't want because this whole output, when you use it in business process context, will be added to the business process, right? And you really do not want to, clutter your business process context with so much output information. So again, same thing I'll do here. I will only keep what is. So I'll just keep the business partner, because this is a business partner ID that will be generated, and then I will keep business partner name, and I will just keep a full name. I'll say put creation dates just to see when it was created. I will keep initials. I will keep, okay, I don't want to keep first name, last name, and organization name, and a search term. And I'll delete rest of it. Okay, and I'll just select, maybe this didn't get selected. I'll just remove them as well. Cool. Now, my business partner has been created as per my input and output. You can also, this is also one of the cool features, that you can also change the business partner name. I mean, that API name based on any, some more business friendly name that you would want to do. So I'll just say create business partner record for dev. This will help me to easily identify. Okay. And because the post call, all the post call for S/4HANA requires an XSRF token as well. So I will just put a default XSRF token here, and I will save this. Good. Now I will maybe just in very simple set, because I would want to show you the test. So I would go to get as well and would want to add one get call. Okay. And I'll just keep this as is. Now to test. So this is also important that you test your APIs before using it in any of your processes. So you can either test it from the destination, or you can also test it manually, where you can choose what will be your authentication and can manually enter. Okay, so for this, I will not enter anything. I mean, I will just select a destination because I know I have a destination. Okay, I will just I will just try and do a get call first, just to show you, that okay, so I'll just go to test. I will just select this and I'll say, okay, give me just top 2 records and I'll do a test. Okay, so if you see here, those 2 records, the first 2 records have been fetched from the backend system with all the information. Now, similarly, if I test post, it will also work and it will already create a business partner, but we want to do this in the process itself. So I'm just not doing it, but you can also test the post calls as well. So now once you are satisfied that, okay, my action project with all the actions that I need are available, with all the changes to input, output data, and to the text is all done, I will release this. Again, release, the concept is the same, that release will actually create create a version of the action project. And only when it is released, it will be available to be published. So it will, so let it wait for its releasement. Okay, so it's now released and it is available for publishing. So I will just publish this. Okay, so now my API has been published and it is being ready to be consumed in the process. Perfect. Now my action project is ready. So this is the action project that we just built. And now let's consume this action project as an action into my process. So I'll go into the process again. Okay, this is not the process we were working with. So this is the process that we were working with. And so here, I will add the action. So when you click on browse library, all the actions that are being published into this account will be shown here. Okay, so if you see here, I have also published business partner API with other stuff, but this is the one that we just published, right? And this is the one that we will need add to the process. So this is a post call, okay, that we have added. There will be also get calls that will be available for you to add. So in case you want to get or fetch some data from the backend system to show it in your process, that all you can also do it. Okay, so now my business partner action with the post call has been added here. The first thing that you have to do as configuration is select a destination. So you have to create a destination variable. So this is a very, very specific step when you work with process automation. So I will say VP destination, and we'll choose a type of destination and we'll create it. So this destination variable is needed because we don't want to hard code the destination. The reason is when you want to, deploy these workflow from queue to dev to prod, there might be different destination names that you have created. So instead we create a variable, and then at the time of deployment, you can select exactly which destination from that system you want this variable to be assigned. So that's why we do not hard code the destinations here. And then the next thing is input. Now you remember in action projects, we defined a fixed set of input, and now we will map these input fields with the actual process content. So business partner category, we mark with category, first name, initials, last name, organization name, and search term. Cool. Okay, sorry, I've copied this from the decision. So you see this. So each activity will have its own outputs. If you see here, all the outputs from the previous activities will be shown. Now, from which output do you want to map this is all up to you. So I really wanted not from the decision, but I wanted to map from the start form because that is where the search term, first name, initials, last name, organization name, and the search term. Okay, search term, let me mark from, okay, search term, let me mark from the decision, because if the search term is empty, we have filled it from the decision. So, and the rest of the input, I will just mark it from my process. So this is the last name, initials, and the first name. Awesome. Done. So now my process, now my action is ready to be consumed. So this is the only thing that you have to do with action. If let's reiterate, we created an action project, based on an API specification. Then we added our own set of actions, let's say a get or a put, a get and a post. We modified the actions with a text, with an input, output, and tested it. So once the action project is created, we released and published the action project in the library. And then we use an action skill in the process to now make an actual connection to the backend system. Perfect. So now our process is ready with the action project. So let me just release this. And let me make it as a major version, because I added an action here. So, I mean, version is like depend up to you, whether it's a batch change or a major change or a minor change. Cool. Now my action project, I mean, my process with action project is also released. Let me deploy. Now, when I deploy, you see this option here. So this is because we have added a variable. Now, when you're deploying, it will ask you which actual destination from the BTP cockpit do you want to associate it with. So it will list you all the destinations that are available in the BTP cockpit, and I'll just select this, okay? And I'll confirm this, and I'll deploy this. Good, so my action project is also deployed, my process is deployed with an action project. Now let's test it again. We will go back to the process, and we will choose and copy the form link here, and we will just paste the form link again, just in case anything got changed. Nothing changes. Now let me just enter, or maybe my colleague's name. Let's this time Peter McNulty. Want to apply. Let me just put my email ID so that you can see it in my email box. And then I'll put the category, some search term and spa, and organization is again SAP Process Automation. Okay, and I'll submit it. Good. Now let's go back to the monitoring app and check. So I am into my new instances. So this is the instance we just created. And if you see here, the condition flow was created, the decision was determined, and then a task is available. Now, if you see here, this was the decision, and this is an output. So actually, the condition didn't satisfy because we already gave a search term, right? That's why the search term was not null, and therefore there's no output. But if we would have entered a search term empty, then the decision would have run and the search term would have been filled. Okay, so now it is in the inbox. Let's go into the inbox and approve the task. Okay, so this is a task approved. And let's, perfect. Now go back again, refresh the monitoring. Okay, the approval notification has been reached. Okay. Okay, there is some error. With the automation itself. Okay, it could be because I have not completed all the inputs. Okay, it's here, all the inputs are shown. Okay, this is saved. Let me try and add the action project from my previous one. I'm just filling up the field, and we'll just give one more try. If it okay, and we will just save this, release this. Deploy this. Okay, and then we will just and I will just put everything again here. Okay, I'll go to inbox. That will be my task. Okay, so I think it got completed. So I'll just show you the status of my completed task. Okay, so this is the one that we just created again, and I approved it. And after approval, if you see here, the activity, I mean, the action project was created, and then, this is the new business partner that got created in the backend system. So that's how, the whole action project works. So you have to create an action project, then release that action project, publish it, and then use it in the project. And so now let's also go back to the backend system to just see if it is available or not. So I am into my backend system, which I have configured, and let's see if this business partner is already available or not. Okay, so you see this. So this is a business partner information that we just created is also available in the backend S/4HANA system. It just shows that, yes, the connection of action project and using actions inside it works. Cool. Yeah, that's all that I wanted to show you in the actions project. I hope you got a gist of it, but just to have a quick recap of what we did today. So today, in these two sessions, you first learned about that SAP Process Automation is a new service, which is a combined capabilities of workflow management and robotic process automation. You saw all the new editors, the process builder, the form builder, the decisions, which are all embedded into the same application development work studio. And so you build a process which was triggered via a form. You also saw how a process can be triggered via an API. Then you had a decision in between. The decision was for setting up the search term, but then you can also use decisions for approvals, for any kind of validations, and so on. Then you had a conditional flow, which routed for in your process whether an approval was needed or not. Then you had an approval process, approval form or approval task for a recipient to receive in his inbox to approve the new business partner. Then once the approval is being done, then then an action was triggered, which actually created the business partner in the backend system, and then a notification was sent to the recipient informing him that hello, hi, you are a new business partner, and this is your new business partner ID that have been entered into our system. So this was in summary of what you learned today. And again, just to reiterate, on the upcoming sessions later in the day is a session on process visibility with Peter. Then Baptiste will be actually talking about automations, which is RPA bots, and will also show you some really cool features that we have brought in automation in couple of months. And then the last session will be a fun example with Eric Hague.
Thanks so much, Archana. That was an awesome pair of sessions, and yeah, thank you also for doing us the service of showing us what's coming up shortly. In fact, before we wrap up for the day, there was one question I'll bring to your attention shortly, but I also wanted to let you know that these 3 sessions that Archana is showing us, these are going to be hosted by Antonio. And of course, you've all met Antonio already in the live chat, because Antonio's the one that's been answering all the questions so awesomely. So, and both Antonio and I are just standing in for Daniel, our colleague who has curated and organized all these sessions for the low-code, no-code theme throughout Devtoberfest. But Daniel isn't able to make it this week. So Antonio and I are just sort of standing in for him. So thanks, Archana. There was one particular question that was asked by Tasib. Actually, this was asked at the end of the first session. So we sort of he re-asked it, which was great. Antonio and I have had a go at answering it, but I think also it would be great if you could have a little something about it too. So Tasib was asking the question, can we add line items in the start form? For example, the user wants to enter a purchase request with multiple items, and it should go for approval with all the items that he entered. Now, Antonio and I have said, there's a little bit of complexity there that you have to think about. But I wanted to give you the chance, Archana, to sort of address that as well.
Yeah, okay. So thank you for this question, first of all. So yes, for now you cannot. The reason is we are coming up with collections and the list in Q4, and only then you can create a data type of list, because that is that is when you will be able to also pass on that whole list with multiple items into your API calls or into your forms. So when we come up with collections, you will see that there will be a table control that will be given to you in the forms, through which you can see multiple collection items, and then you can pass on the same collection or the same data type with collection directly to the API calls as well. So if you only want to work with with multiple collections, then yes, that's not there. But to a single level, let's say you have a business partner and then you have an address, right? To that level, you can still do it. But if you have multiple addresses, then that's not yet possible.
Fantastic. Thank you. And there was another question that, again, Antonio has provided an answer for, but I just wanted to re-ask it to bring it to people's attention. The question was about tutorials, and there's a mission on process automation. I think it was, who was asking about this? I think it might have been Dominic that was asking about it. So there's lots of tutorials on the tutorial navigator. Are there any ones that you would particularly want to recommend, Archana?
Yeah, so there are 2 tutorials. So depending upon what is your experience level. So if you are really basic, then there is one tutorial. I will put it in the chat as well. So there is one basic tutorial which takes you through different form concept, as I was talking of, and then an extension to that tutorial is another tutorial which will enhance the same process with decisions, with visibility. I think this is the tutorial. If you have never worked with SAP Process Automation, then this is the tutorial that you should go ahead and try it out. And then beyond this, there is then invoice processing tutorial as well, where you get to see the docs capability of document extraction, a capability of RPA bot in invoice processing. So my choice would be start with the basic forms one, then move on to enhancing the same tutorial and the same process with decision, visibility, and a very small automation bot. And then once you've finished this basic one, then you can go to any of the available missions or also to the invoice processing tutorials.
Fantastic. That's a great answer. So I think that about wraps it up for this session. There was one particular question. Who was it from? I can't remember now, but a question about points. So if you're watching this live and you're partaking in Devtoberfest and trying to reach Nerdvana, then look out for the validation tutorial for this session and all the other sessions today, so you can work your way towards that Nerdvana. But it just remains for me to say thank you so much, Archana, and thanks to everybody who has joined. Some really great questions and some good feedback as well from Mohit and Raphael and Phil and Dominic and everybody. So yeah, thanks for joining. We're going to finish this end this stream now, and The next one from Peter is happening soon, today. Okay, bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you for joining.